What's going on, everybody? Fabulous eBikes gave me a chance to test out their newest version of the Havoc bike, and it is a monster of an e-bike. This is the dual motor, dual 750 watt motor, 60 volt Havoc X2, and it is a crazy powerful bike. If you're interested in powerful e-bikes, you're gonna wanna hang out and check this one out with me. Let's take a look. Let's check out this monster from Montreal. Fabulous eBikes makes all kinds of different shapes and sizes of e-bikes. This is one from their Havoc line. This is the 60 volt dual 750 motor Havoc X2. They make this bike in multiple versions. You can get basically any kind of version you want. Step through, dual suspension, single motor, dual motor, single 500 watt motor, single 1000 watt motor, 750 motor, all kinds of different frame sizes and motor sizes for this Havoc line. Also color options, red, silver, black. I think I saw white, one with a little bit of orange in it. So there's all kinds of different variations of the Havoc line. Now let me give you a 60-second breakdown of the specifics on this bike. It is a 20x4 fat tire on mag wheels. You've got a complete lighting package, headlight, taillight, brake light, turn signals, and horn. It's a folding frame. You've got dual suspension, air shock, both front and rear. The gearing, 52 tooth on the front, 1134 on the back. Metal fenders and rear rack are included in the purchase price. Battery pack is a 60 volt, 20 amp hour. This bike has a torque sensor and Zoom hydraulic brakes. The standover height's about 26 inches to right here. The seat height on the dual suspension frame, the minimum seat height is 35.5 inches. The Havoc weighs about 92 pounds, and last but not least, in each wheel, you've got a 60 volt, 750 watt geared hub motor with 100 Newton meters of torque. Very, very powerful bike. The ride experience on the Havoc is very exciting. This bike's got a ton of power. You gotta be a little careful with it because it's nothing to break this front wheel loose. There's a lot of torque in that front motor. You get a lot of wheel spin accelerating from a stop, and then you gotta be careful in the low speed turns. You don't wanna have the wheel turned and hit the throttle or hit the pedal assist, because when this kicks in, it could spin out and slide out from under you. So word of caution, don't take the power on this bike lightly and be careful with it. Let's take a look at some of the parts up close. Cool looking mag wheels. I like mag wheels better than the spokes, although they are probably heavier, but mag wheels on this bike. You can see your front motor hiding in here, and it is a 60 volt 750, not a 48 volt. They do sell 48 volt version of this bike on the website though. Got this sleeve right here that's holding on your motor wire, keeping it close to the fork. And underneath here, these are RST guide forks. And they're air forks, so the top over here is your lockout feature, and then this is your the air inlet right here. You take off this little cap, and you can put air in the fork to your desired level. Big headlight on the front. I did ride it at night one night, and this lights up the path pretty good. I was impressed with the headlight. I wouldn't change that out. It did a great job. You do have to install the front wheel when you're setting the bike up, but it's not difficult. Just make sure you get the torque washers down in the dropouts there so your front wheel's not flying out of the bike on you. And it's an axle that goes through here. There's no quick release mechanism when you've got a motor in the front wheel. You can see we've got the RST guide on this side of the forks over here, and it's 180 millimeter Zoom hydraulic brakes. The Zoom brakes usually do okay. I don't mind them. They were a little squeaky on this bike because it got some damage during shipping. Unfortunately, there was some heavy damage right here on the folding mechanism, and also damaged the screen on the bike, and I think they bent up the brakes a little bit too, which causes them to squeal. So this bike is a prototype sample bike. I think it's the only one right now in the country, and it's been shipped multiple times and damaged multiple times. So a lot of blemishes on this bike. Hopefully you can overlook. It is a folding e-bike. The handlebars fold down right here on this pivot point, and the bike bends here in the middle and sandwiches in half. So you can make this bike more compact if you need to for storage or transport. I've never really been a big fan of the folding e-bikes. I just don't find them very convenient. It's a good idea in theory, but when you've got a bike like this, which weighs 92 pounds on my scale, it's not really maneuverable when it's all folded up and kind of awkward. Heavy weight. Trying to load that into a vehicle can be difficult, but if you want folding, it does fold. Now let's check out the handlebars. When I first pulled this out of the box and saw it and how it was set up, I was like, I'm not gonna like that. You get the tall post here with the handlebars on top. It usually gives you kind of a awkward feeling like you're riding a scooter, but this one wasn't bad, honestly. You've got BMX style bars up here, and they're nice and wide, so it doesn't give you that pogo stick kind of feeling at all. And I was a little worried about this piece that juts out right here. Is that going to make it extend too far and be uncomfortable to ride? And you can see I've got the bars tilted back a little bit to bring them back towards the seat. And honestly, this was really comfortable ride position. That kind of surprised me. Looking at it, I was like, that's not gonna be comfortable. And then I got on it and rode it, and it was actually really comfortable. I didn't feel like I was reaching for the handlebars. They could even be angled back further if you need. And the seat was really soft and plush. It's really thick, it's spring-loaded, it's soft, decently wide, so a good seat that they give you on there. It is a tall bike though. The minimum seat height is 35.5 inches. It's no trouble for me. I'm 6 feet tall with long legs, so there's pretty much not a bike out there I can't get on. So I was quite comfortable on this bike, could get my feet on the ground easily. My wife, on the other hand, who's 5'3", I mean, she couldn't get on this bike at all. If you're of smaller stature, you might want to check out the step-through design of the Havoc. One thing that's contributing to that taller seat height is just the rear suspension design with your shock right here. You can only put that seat post down so far before you're running into the shock. I would say this frame design is definitely for a taller rider, maybe 5'7", 5'8" at minimum. That is if you want to be able to get your feet flat on the ground comfortably. I do like that the battery sits on an angle so you don't have to remove the seat to take the battery out, and that is a massive battery pack. Again, 60 volt, 20 amp hour battery pack. That's 1200 watt hours of power. That's a big battery pack. And it slides out of there nice and easy. You just turn the key on the other side, lift up on the handle, slides right out. You can charge it on or off the bike. Now let's check out that rear rack. The paint is color matched to the frame. It is removable. If you ever wanted to take the rack off the bike, you could. It says that it holds 15 kilograms. What's that, about 30 pounds-ish? And I would say I wouldn't put a really heavy amount of weight on this rack. I don't know if I'd have anyone ride on there. Probably wouldn't be able to support that. I don't see any vertical support for the weight on attaching to the frame. It's all kind of an angle, so I wouldn't overload this rear rack, but it should be adequate for carrying a rear pack and just your basic stuff that everybody carries with them, right? Let's spin around here and take a look at your rear light. Everything's integrated all into this one light. You've got your tail light, brake light, and turn signals all in one. I'll flip the turn signals on here so you can see what those look like. They come through yellow, so they are nice and visible. Turn signals, I find myself not using them all that much. It's a nice feature to have, but you got to remember to turn it off. It's not self-canceling. There's no indicator on the screen or anything that they're on, so I tend to leave them on a lot, I guess. So you got your turn signal switch right here. Below that's your horn. Not crazy loud, I don't mind that. And then this is your headlight switch. Probably won't be able to see it in the daylight here, but it was pretty nice at night. There's a good headlight on there. And then the tail light lights up the ring right here as your tail light. And the brake light is that the ring gets a brighter intensity. This red in the middle is actually a reflector. But let's move back up to the handlebars, check out what's going on up here. We've got a right hand twist throttle and 7-speed rapid fire trigger shifters. I like that. It's really no problem operating both with your right hand. I know a lot of times when you get the trigger shifters, they'll put a left hand thumb throttle on a bike, but this is perfect. I mean, it works perfectly. I didn't have any trouble manipulating either. And really, you don't shift all that much on an e-bike. At least I don't anyway. I don't think most people do. Tend to keep it in a higher gear and just leave it there. So it's really not a problem having the twist throttle on this side. It's got leather wrap grips with a palm rest, and it's got locking rings on each end, so they don't move in your hand at all. Really nice. I like that. Now, unfortunately, our screen took a big hit during shipping and got smashed, but it is still functioning and gives you everything you need. So your battery life, speed really big in the middle, your pedal assist level, even has a watt meter on this screen. It's very clear and readable. The only time it's hard to see is if you're wearing polarized lenses in your sunglasses, then it can be a little dark. And I would show you all the programming on the screen, but this bike, being that it's a sample prototype bike, everything's locked down. I can't really change anything in here anyway. I put the top speed up as high as it would go, but the bike was pretty much locked in at about 26 miles per hour. And they tell me from the factory, these bikes are going like 34 plus miles per hour. So I didn't get to experience the top speed, but definitely got to experience the acceleration and the power out of the motors. On this side, we already talked about our lighting controls over here. This is your pedal assist and menu buttons over here to control the display screen. And then the red button is your go juice. That is the go fast button. That's what activates the front motor. And the only issue I've got with this is that it's hard to tell when it's engaged and when it's not. When it's engaged, the button is slightly more pushed in. And when it's not engaged, it's slightly out further. It's really tough. I kind of feel like they come up with a little bit better system for that, or maybe an indicator on the screen indicating that it's an all-wheel drive. I like that it's a button. I prefer there being a button rather than the, the switch toggling back and forth. But this bike's got so much power and torque, you really need to be aware if you're in the all-wheel drive mode or not. Maybe they could make this button light up or something like that. But that's how that works. And you can engage the motor on the fly. You can be going along in a rear-wheel drive and push the button, and the motor, the front motor, will engage instantaneously, and you are in all-wheel drive at that point. So you've got two modes on this bike. You can be in rear wheel or you can be in all wheel. You can't be in just front wheel. And the motors are definitely powerful. It's the same motor in each wheel, the 60 volt 750 watt motor, 100 Newton meters of torque. And they got them wrapped in the Kenda Crusade tires. I like this tire choice. It's a good looking tire. It has a pretty aggressive tread pattern, but it's not super loud on the road. For whatever reason, this tread pattern is not excessively loud. It doesn't roar down the street like some of the CST and the Chaoyang and the Kenda Juggernauts. They can really roar when you go down the street. These are pretty quiet. So that is a quick walk around on the Havoc X2. Now let me show you some of the footage I took while I was out riding and testing this bike. All right, we made it over to our hill climb test track. This is where I test all the bikes. We go up this hill and there's a little piece of pavement that sticks out from the side on the left up there. That's what I call the end point. And the strongest 750 watt bikes do this in 22 seconds flat. And this bike, I'm gonna do it two ways on this bike. We're gonna do rear motor only, and then we're gonna do dual motor and see the difference. So we're in rear motor right now. Well, let's find out how quick it is. It's pretty strong with one motor. 3, 2, 1, go. Pretty good. Into the wind. Very windy today. Not bad at all. Plenty of power with just one motor. There you go. Felt pretty good. Let's spin around and do it with two motors now. And this is where you're gonna see the dramatic difference. Hill climb with dual motors is insane. All right, now with two motors, watch this. So engage front motor, and 3, 2, 1, go. Holy cow, huge burnout. It's gonna be quick. And time. Holy cow. Very, very dramatic difference. I would say it probably went twice as fast. Gotta be at least twice as fast. It's incredibly fast with two motors. One of the torquiest bikes, if not the torquiest I've ever been on. I mean, the amount of launch power this bike has. I mean, if you're just cruising along 8 miles an hour and you happen to be in dual motor and you hit it, I mean, the front wheel breaks loose, even when you're already rolling. So let's go back down again. About 7 miles an hour, 6, hit the throttle. And it just digs. I mean, holy cow. You gotta really, word of caution, all right? This is very powerful. You really gotta be on your guard when you've got that front motor engaged. Because it can, I wouldn't even want to twist the throttle right here on this slippery wood. I'd end up wrecking it. You gotta really be careful with that. And I know some of you want to know this as well. You can engage the front motor on the fly. So if let's slow down here, and then I'm in rear motor right now. So we'll start going. And now I'll hit front motor. And it just, I mean, holy cow. You gotta be hanging on. But the other bike I was on from Fabulous, the EMX Extreme, it was also dual motor. You couldn't do that. When you hit the button, you had to disengage the throttle before the front motor would become active. This one, you don't have to. You can put the front motor in motion on the fly. So you can be going rear motor and then hit front and it just takes off. Now let's do a 0 to 20 with dual motors. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. There. Oh man. God, this thing moves. Holy cow. Crazy. Now I mentioned this before, but you gotta really be careful doing low speed turns with a bike like this. That front wheel can break loose on you very easily. So if you're trying to do a U-turn like this and you forget that you're in dual motor mode and you hit that throttle, I mean, look at that. That could put you down on the ground real quick. So Now the power delivery in just rear wheel drive on this bike is pretty good. It's got a lot of kick to it. If you're in pedal assist 5 and you're getting that full power to the throttle and you hit it, I mean, just around in the neighborhoods like this, you don't even need the all-wheel drive. The rear wheel drive's got plenty of power to ride around like this. I found myself not even using the front motor unless you really need it. If you're trying to do like a crazy acceleration or a really steep hill climb, then you need it, I guess. But just around town, I mean, I rode it for a while the other night, just rear motor only, because that's all you need. Probably the 60-volt battery system, I think, gives it a little bit extra kick than a normal 750-watt e-bike. All right, let's test out the suspension a little bit here. Just through an open field. It's got a rear shock on it, and I would say the rear shock does just enough to make it comfortable. It's not a crazy amount of travel, so like this isn't bad. If you're on a hardtail, it would really be shaking you, and I'm feeling it a little bit, but I can definitely tell that rear shock is working. So it does just enough, I'll say. Now here's something I really want to try. No 750-watt bike can make this little tiny grass hill under throttle only, but what if it's a 750-watt bike with a 60-volt battery? Does that make a difference? Will that give this enough power to climb the hill? If it does, it'll be the only one ever. Let's test it out. Here we go. Backed up the whole way. All right, 3, 2, 1, go. Oh man, new record holder. Holy cow. That's a first. First ever 750-watt e-bike to make that hill. Now I didn't have the front motor on, so technically it did it. I guess the 60-volt battery does help. Wow. Okay. All right. Yeah. So yeah, this what I was saying, the rear wheel by itself as a 750-watt e-bike is stronger than any other 750. Stronger than any other one, because no other bike has made that. Wow. Okay. So even if you didn't want to get the dual motor, I'm sure they probably sell a single motor one, and that gives you an idea of the power you're going to get. But I mean, if you flip the button and do this dual motor, it'll absolutely destroy it. I can't believe it made it with the single motor. Wow. Wow. That's surprising. I didn't think it was going to do that. I kind of curved a little there at the end to make it, but it made it. Count it. I'm going to count it. Let's try it with the dual motors now. So you can see what I'm talking about. Well, I'm not even going to get a run at it. No run at it. I'm just going to start right here at the bottom. Turn the front motor on, and let's hit it. Just kills it. You can hear it just spinning and digging its way up. That's crazy. Wow. Yeah, the power on the dual motor. Jeez. Wow. There you go. Tough bike. That is a tough little bike. All right, well, as you can see, the Havoc bike has a ton of power to work with. Some of the fastest times I've ever seen on the hill climbs that I do. In dual motor mode, that thing just flew up the hills. When you do the short, steep, grassy hills, it just claws and digs its way to the top with the dual motors. But I think even more impressive than that was when I turned the front wheel off and just rode around in rear wheel only. I'm pretty sure it had the fastest time up the hill for a 750-watt bike with rear wheel only. I think it was the fastest ever going up there. And then that short, steep, grassy hill climbs right over there. It's the only bike, 750-watt bike, that's made it up that hill ever with just the one wheel. So truthfully, the majority of the time I rode this bike, I just had it in single motor. It has plenty of pickup, plenty of power for hill climb. You didn't even really need the front motor all that much. The front motor was just like the fun button. You hit that red button and the bike just becomes wild. And the front wheel's doing a burnout and you're doing fast accelerations and blazing up hills and climbing the side of mountains. It's a lot of fun if that's what you're looking for. The dual motors is so much fun and so much power. But remember, they do sell it in multiple versions. So you can get you know, just a 750 watt rear hub motor, if that's all you need, or even just 1,000 watt, that'd probably be perfectly adequate for most people. This one's just a wild ride. It is the monster from Montreal. So hopefully that gives you a little bit better idea of what it's like to ride this bike. Things to know about it: taller seat height. It is a heavy bike. It's 92 pounds. I think there's a couple little things they could do a little better. I already mentioned that the button for the all-wheel drive, I wish you could kind of see if that's in or out a little bit easier. There's some exposed wiring down here. I wish they could kind of hide this in the frame. I think that'd make it look a little bit sharper. But overall, just a very exciting bike from Fabulous. I will, of course, link it in the description below. It's just a link. I don't get anything if you buy one. I just hope you found this information helpful, or maybe at least entertaining. If you did, consider hitting the subscribe button. And if you are e-bike shopping, Fabulous is definitely a website to check out. I get really good reports on their customer service, and they've got a ton of options to pick from. There's trikes and cargo bikes and small folding bikes and 26x4 fat tire bikes and dual motor bikes. Every kind of shape and size, they've got it. So check it out. I'll link them in the description as well. And if they give me any kind of discount codes or anything, I'll put those there for you as well. Hope you enjoyed today, and thank you so much for watching.